Yo, my people, this one was recommended by AI Snoops Read, and he said that this one's kind of like required. There's starts at chapter 1 all the way down to chapter 8. And he said it's required to kind of like understand his journey, his illness, his career, all of that type of stuff. So this is what we're going to do. There's also someone else that said that I need to watch a certain something as well to also understand his career and journey and all that type of stuff, and kind of like get a grasp of certain songs as well. I'll just be reacting to songs and not know what's going on type of thing. So we're going to see how this does. I might react to all of them if it does well. If not, I'll just react to them in my own time. You know what I mean? But apparently it ends with a song as well, so we'll see. Let's get into it though. Man like Ren. Let's see what I'm going. I just reacted to Money Game Part 3. Apologies that I didn't react to it when I reacted to 1 and 2. There's like a massive gap between 1 and 2 and then 3. But here though, man. You know what I'm saying? Or should I do this? Oh, that's...
Hello everyone. This is the first time I've done something like this before. I wanted to write it down because there's a lot and I didn't want to miss anything. And some parts of this might be a little bit uncomfortable to listen to, but I wanted to stay as true as possible to the story, not miss anything, for the sake of people who might be going through something similar, or for the sake of people who don't but want to help understand a little bit more. Yeah. I promise that everything in this story is 100% true. Nothing is exaggerated for dramatic effect. Some names I don't mention and some details I don't go too far into or downplay them for the sake of the people around me. Timelines might occasionally be a little bit off, but that's just because I've had to write everything from memory from a time that was quite hazy. I asked before embarking on this journey with me that you all respect the privacy of myself and the people around me. You might be compelled to reach out to some of the people that I mention, cast judgment, praise them, criticize them, and I ask you kindly not to. It's my choice to be in the public eye, and it's mine alone. This is the first time my story is on the public record in a concise way. Being in the public eye is strange. The more that I give to you, the less that I get to keep for myself. I don't find the experience of sharing particularly enjoyable. I don't so much like the questions that follow. And I'm not a medical expert, so I don't like to be seen as somebody with all the answers, because I don't have them. And because of the empathy that I feel, I'm compelled to try and help as many people as possible. But the last time I opened myself up to this on a one-on-one basis, I was surrounded by a lot of death, and there simply weren't enough hours in the day. So I ask you, if you need support, please reach out to a professional or use my music as your companion. I share my story in hopes that somebody who needs it finds it, that it provides hope, that it might ease the suffering for the people like me. I like my solitude, so I ask that anyone who respects the work I make and respects my contribution to the world to respect my solitude.
I'm on, to be honest.
A lot happened in my teenage years, and I didn't live the most normal of lives, but I'll save that story for another time. The important thing to contextualize this story is that I was full of life. I was full of a burning desire to change the world. The flaws in how we interact seemed obvious to me. I believed in people's power to change the unnecessary suffering we inflict upon ourselves. I was also enamored with music. Music is the closest thing to God that I have. It's a gateway to the unexplainable, and it's a way of communicating the inexpressible.
It's crazy though how bare people have that that desire and that to quote unquote change the world in their own way. But there's never enough time in that, bro. Whether you live till 100 and whatever, 200 and whatever, there's never enough time to be able to tackle everything. So I feel like more time you just gotta pinpoint a certain part, laser focus, touch who you can touch, reach out to who you can reach out to, and then hope that it has a ripple effect in that, fam. You know what I'm saying? Because even like if you look at like a Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and Martin, what did I just say? Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, Kwame Nkrumah and that, bruv, they probably didn't accomplish exactly what they wanted to accomplish in that, bruv, but it was a ricochet effect, and they were able to help people that were able to help people that were able to help people for us to get to a time like this, you know what I mean? So, yeah, man, you just got to do what you can.
There's just one moment that I want to share with you from the years before I got sick. I was 17 and I felt indestructible. I'm not sure why, but my whole life I had this feeling inside myself that I was meant to do something important, not for myself, not for praise, not for personal gain, but something that would change the world for the better. It's hard to describe it without coming across like an egomaniac or having some sort of God complex, but I felt like I had some sort of divine purpose. And I remember feeling this so strongly that one afternoon after school, I stood in the center of my bedroom and I spoke loud into an empty void. I said that I would single-handedly take on and defeat the forces of evil, and I welcomed them to try their best. Throughout the years, that memory stuck with me, taunting me sometimes. Flash forward to 2019. I remember the first day I knew something was wrong very well. I woke up in an unfamiliar room in Cardiff, feeling like a raven had perched itself upon my heart. Every time my heart beat, it's like some part of me was aware of the foreboding death sentence that was to come. Some sort of primal instinctive dread. Everything felt wrong, and I felt prosthetic, like I could tear my own skin off and observe though.
Okay, this was a year ago. I was gonna say this was like AI and that, bro. But yeah, this was 2024. For some reason, I'm thinking this is like 3, 5, 6 years ago, or whatever. Now this is recent.
I was watching passively from another room. The night before, I'd been in Cardiff visiting friends in university. It was the end of summer. We'd gone out to a few bars. I wasn't really enjoying myself. That year, I'd been struggling with social anxiety, perhaps from years of abusing my brain with a whole pick and mix and selection of party drugs. Engaging with society felt like stepping into the ring with a heavy
The whole pick and mix party drugs and that, bro, like Haribo's pick and mix party, like, you know what I'm saying?
weight champion. Every single fucking question felt like an oncoming haymaker I had to socially navigate because my very limited toolkit of charisma at the time.
Yo, that is probably a cold way to put it, you know. Man feel like they're fighting against a heavyweight champion, that, bro, when they're in social environments and them thing. They even me sometimes, bro. Because I'm a person, I don't like to talk if there's nothing to talk about, bro. You know what I mean? So I'm not a person that likes to small talk or whatever. So in certain situations and that, fam, you know what I mean? I'll just say yeah or whatever and that, fam. You know what I mean? But it's not even like I even getting comfortable in them situations anymore and that, fam. You know what I mean? It's kind of like just it is what it is type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like I'm different to a lot of my different family members and immediate family who are kind of like more social and that, bro. But for me and them thing there, if there's nothing to talk about, can we just like be quiet, bro? Like there's no point, because we see it all the time, bro. I see it all the time. People having conversations and smiling, but really you don't want to know. You're just doing it because you're in a social setting or because you're in a work environment and this is the things that we do and that, bro. But I can sense it from a mile away, and it's a blessing and a curse because I can tell when I'm talking to someone and if they're not interested or not. But sometimes I can also just be overthinking it at the same time. So it's a blessing and a curse. But I do see it a lot of the time where people are just chatting for chatting's sakes, knowing that you don't really want to chat. You're just doing it for the sake of it.
Itself upon my heart. Every time my heart beat, it's like some part of me was aware of the foreboding death sentence that was to come. Some sort of primal instinctive dread. Everything felt wrong, and I felt prosthetic, like I could tear my own skin off and observe though I was watching passively from another room. The night before, I'd been in Cardiff visiting friends in university. It was the end of summer. We'd gone out to a few bars. I wasn't really enjoying myself. That year, I'd been struggling with social anxiety, perhaps from years of abusing my brain with a whole pick and mix and selection of party drugs. Engaging with society felt like stepping into the ring with a heavyweight champion. Every single fucking question felt like an oncoming haymaker I had to socially navigate because my very limited toolkit of charisma at the time. I don't know why I cared about being liked so much, but the more I cared, the less equipped I became to have a simple human conversation. I used to deal with this by getting fucking hammered. That night was no exception. I got smashed, lost my phone, and woke up in a strange apartment. In the bed opposite mine was a snoring rugby player and his girlfriend. Everything just seemed off, and it wasn't a hangover. My first thought was I'd been spiked. I quietly gathered all my belongings and left before anyone could wake up and punch me with a conversation. I wandered around the grey Cardiff in the haze, feeling like I've just been rigged up to an IV bag full of ketamine and cyanide, and the whole world just seemed off, like I was looking at it through a tunnel. A heavy feeling of fear clung around me like a straitjacket.
Yo, I can't lie. Shout out to whoever created the term B-roll and who actually put it into effect on that, bro, because you did a mad thing still. Shout out to it, because B-roll is a beautiful thing in filmmaking and storytelling and that, bro. You know what I mean? Because it is just images and filler, but at the same time, it can accommodate if you use it right to what you're actually saying, bro. You know what I mean? So shout out to B-roll, you know what I mean? And what we're looking at right now is A-roll for the people who don't, you get me? Ever since I did the YouTube thing, it's like I concentrate more on certain things and film and all of that type of stuff and that.
The only comforting thought was that with enough time, rest and water, it would pass. But it didn't. For 8 long years, it didn't. And this is my story of an 8-year-long nightmare. I returned back to my dad's home. He was living with his partner at the time. It wasn't my home, so I already felt uncomfortable and out of place. These unusual symptoms persisted. I figured I'd caught some sort of virus and I'd get better with time. But by the end of the week, things were a lot worse. I took myself to the doctor and he said he thought it sounded viral, that if I went home and got enough rest, it would eventually pass.
You doctors be so annoying.
And it didn't.
Bro.
For 8 years, it didn't. I returned for my second year of university. My brain was full of fog and my body felt poisoned. There were intermittent days where I felt like a hollow suit of skin. I'd sit in lectures unable to focus and was devoid of any sort of personality. I'd be able to have basic conversations, yeses and nos, but I was stripped of the ability to think spontaneously. It's like my body was taking up so much processing power being sick that I could not have original or spontaneous thought. The most peculiar thing about this was there was a me that was aware that this was all happening and was observing it from outside of myself, locked out, screaming silently, banging on the walls of my mind to be let in, and never successfully.
Say that again.
Power being sick that I could not have original or spontaneous thought. The most peculiar thing about this was there was a me that was aware that this was all happening and was observing it from outside of myself, locked out, screaming silently, banging on the walls of my mind to be let in, and never successfully. And nonetheless, there I was, like a ghost haunting myself. My usual routine was getting home, running a shower and curling up into a ball to cry underneath the running water, not understanding what was going on. I brought myself to the doctors numerous times during this period, requesting every blood test they'd let me have, often being dismissed and told things like stress from university can cause strange symptoms. But how come no one I knew in university could relate to this? Eventually I was put on a 6-month-long waiting list to see a mental health specialist who did a short 1-page questionnaire and wrongly diagnosed me as hypercycling bipolar and put me on a course.
Yo, I don't even know. I guess maybe if his thing is rare, you know what I'm saying, it's not really been heard of, I can hear it. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, just because technology is advanced, at the end of the day, if you don't know what you're looking for, you don't know what you're looking for at the end of the day. You know what I mean? But there's definitely a influx or just occasions where you go to the doctors and it's like the place where you need to be mediocre and can't be bothered and want to do your half-ass job. That's just the wrong industry to do it in, bro. You know what I mean? That's why in certain industries, it's like you need more than just a test and that, bruv. You need, you know, like in like animes or flipping Kung Fu Panda and that, bruv, where there's some next orb or whatever, and if you touch it, it goes red for a bad person. If you touch it, it goes green or blue. Or it's like we need something like that, bruv, to work in the police and health and fire department and that, bruv, because these are such roles and that, bruv, that you just cannot be mediocre in that, bruv. You know what I mean? Because this is what happens in that, fam. People just slap you with some paracetamol and that and say, yeah, you'll become some ibuprofen and that, bro. And like I said, if he's got like a sickness or an illness or whatever that's not been heard of or whatever, then I can somewhat understand and that, bro. You know what I mean? But to go through so many different routes and attempt so many different times for someone to tell you what's wrong with you when you don't have the capabilities, and yeah, you might go on a little, I don't know, research spiral or whatever and that, but you go through different avenues and different lanes and no one can tell you what going on that one. This is what they do for a living and that is must be a brazy feeling, man. I can't even lie to you in that, fam. You know what I'm saying?
Eventually I was put on a 6-month-long waiting list to see a mental health specialist who did a short 1-page questionnaire and wrongly diagnosed me as hypercycling bipolar and put me on a course of citalopram. After a few weeks it stole my ability to sleep. I was told to stick it out and it would level out and eventually I'd feel more like myself. I stuck it out and I got worse and I pulled myself off it after 2 weeks in a row of sleepless nights and insomnia.
Crazy. And that's the thing as well, bro. That's the other dangerous thing, because I've literally had a family member that went through something like that, and them thing there when they were already sick and then they were put on a certain medication and it just flew them off the edge, bro. Like, fam, that's also another dangerous part as well. So you also got all these different drugs and all of these type of things that can have the all mad type of side effects and that, bro. You know what I mean? And now you're wrongly diagnosed someone's and give it, like, you know what I mean? I wonder how many people have like passed off of that, of being wrongly diagnosed, or the situation has gotten worse, or they've unfortunately passed away, or like, you know what I mean?
There's something pretty peculiar about being told you're in some sort of spectrum of madness. Even if you suspect that you're mad, your diagnosis finds a way to claw itself into your identity, even if it doesn't belong to you. Ever since I was a child, I'd always be asking what and why and how things worked. I couldn't really accept things as they were without knowing how. I carried into my adult years, and so as the bipolar hammer crashed and sentenced itself into my reality, I began searching online for behaviours associated with it, people's first-hand experiences, what it felt like to be manic.
Yep, and that's when you start to go down the lane of researching yourself.
Behaviours associated with it, people's first-hand experiences, what it felt like to be manic. In these earlier days of my illness, the symptoms would fluctuate in severity day by day. Some days I'd be in a thick, tired fog, and other days they'd be more merciful. I began to associate the days of not suffering as mania and would act more erratically on the days that my symptoms were less bothersome. I did things like climbing out of windows of a 6-story student accommodation or get so drunk I'd wake up outside of the university campus lawn. But it wasn't mania. I just wasn't hurting. I spent 1 day a week with my therapist, who was teaching me cognitive behavioural therapy. The issue was, mentally reframing unexplainable symptoms caused a lot of cognitive dissonance for me. I was told my anxiety or depression was causing my symptoms, but in reality it was my symptoms which were making me anxious and depressed. So I was in some sort of inescapable bind. I'd devotedly work on my mental health, following every new tool for coping to the letter, only to have my symptoms get worse, which made me frustrated, raise the intensity of my treatment, only to get even more frustrated as my body seemed to deteriorate. After 6 months, I told my mum I'd happily saw off my own leg with a blunt knife if it meant my symptoms would vanish, and I meant it. I told her if I had to live with this strange feeling for 1 more year, I'd kill myself, and I meant that too. But something happened that winter which showed me firsthand the horrors and the fallout from suicide. I met Joe when I was 9 years old. I remember the first time clearly. I was standing in his living room and he turned to me and he was like, "Watch this." Then he proceeded to climb on top of his sofa and did a front flip onto a stone living room floor.
Yo, I hate when kids do that, bro. Uncle Santa, watch this, bro. It's either going to be something boring, not worth your time, or something absolutely spectacular to where you're going to go, oh, that was good. It's one or the other. There's never in between. Listen, man, kids are so annoying sometimes, fam, but they're so precious at the same time.
From suicide.
Oh, my days.
I met Joe when I was 9 years old. I remember the first time clearly. I was standing in his living room and he turned to me and he was like, "Watch this." Then he proceeded to climb on top of his sofa and did a front flip onto a stone living room floor. He landed on his back and lay motionless for a few seconds before grinning, getting up and then doing it all over again. We grew up terrorizing
You see what I'm saying? Crazy to me.
The streets of the small village we grew up in, playing knock door run or breaking into people's gardens to play on their trampolines. We stayed friends throughout high school, going through various phases together. Joe was comedian of the group. I remember countless mornings after messy all-nighters, Joe would be cracking endless jokes like a professional stand-up routine, and we'd all be in tears laughing. When I started writing my first songs, Joe and Sega were the first people who always knew every word, and they would sing along at the top of their lungs. They gave me a lot of self-belief, and they helped me build the foundation of what I do today, and I owe them a lot for that. That Christmas, I came back home to Wales from university. On Christmas Eve, me and Joe were sat in a pub, and he turned to me, and he told me that he'd fantasized about walking into the sea until he was totally submerged. He had a pretty morbid sense of humour, so I didn't really take it.
I recently literally just finished watching The Blacklist, and if you know Katerina, you know what I mean. What was the name? What was the main character's name? Who Reddington came to flipping because she eventually, was it Elizabeth? Her mum and them thing there, bro. Obviously her disappearance and that fam when she walked all the way into the sea. That's literally what that reminded me of.
This eve, me and Joe were sat in a pub, and he turned to me and he told me that he'd fantasized about walking into the sea until he was totally submerged. He had a pretty morbid sense of humour, so I didn't really take him as seriously as I should have. 2 days later, it's 3 a.m. and I get a phone call. It's my friend Ella. She tells me that Joe is on the bridge by my house. He was drunk, he'd called her up, and he told her he was going to jump. I was still half asleep. I fumbled, pulling on whatever clothes I could that were near, and I walked out of the front door, and the winter air stung my face and it woke me up. Adrenaline kicked in and I started sprinting towards the bridge. It was about a 5-minute walk, a 2.5-minute sprint. As I was running, I dialed Joe's number and I get a busy tone, and I felt relief because it meant he was still alive. I kept hitting redial as I ran, and as I got about halfway to the bridge, the busy tone changes. I get an automated voice note saying the number's out of service, and my heart sunk. I got to the suspension bridge that connects Anglesey to the mainland, and it usually looks very beautiful. I sprint up and down the bridge yelling Joe's name, and there's silence, and it's deafening. And I peer over the bridge into the blackness, and the bridge sits about 100 feet above the water. Hitting cold water at that height is like smashing into concrete. And the waters are notoriously dangerous because of the cross current. I hear nothing, no sounds, nothing. I run up and down the bridge about 2 times before I spot a figure at the end of it, and my heart jumps into my throat, and I run towards the figure, and it's my friend Ricky who's had the same call, and we both run around up and down the bridge and around the surrounding area looking for Joe. More of his friends eventually arrive, and there's nothing. I was about a minute too late. We spent the next week walking.
As he was literally telling the story, I was like, how the hell is he doing this right now, bro? That's brazy, fam. Because at any point now, when I think of one of my aunties who passed away like a year ago and them thing there, bro, it's brazy, fam. I ain't even going there. I'm not going there, fam. You know what I'm saying? But just, yeah, man, it's hard, especially him literally being involved in it as well. And that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? The fact that that's the thing with music, it's a blessing and a curse, because you get to encapsulate moments and live them years later. You get to literally take yourself away from the present day and be in a place where you first heard this said song that you're listening to, and that, or you have moments like this where you have to live like traumatic moments again and again and again. Like
run around up and down the bridge. And
the maddest thing is when you think like you're good now, not necessarily like you're over said person leaving your life and that, fam, forever, but you think that you're over like crying about it, or you know what I'm saying, you feel like you can process certain things, and then you see something or hear something or say something and that, bruv, and all over again, waterworks.
And around the surrounding area looking for Joe. More of his friends eventually arrive, and there's nothing. I was about a minute too late. We spent the next week walking up and down beaches with flashlights, and when it's that dark, every other large rock starts to look like a washed up body. We plastered all the neighbouring towns in missing posters, contacting whoever we could, someone who might know something. We checked bank records to see if any money had been withdrawn since he went missing. There was CCTV footage of him walking onto the bridge, but there wasn't any of him coming off. But there were dead zones in the footage, so there was still a small chance he could be alive. I was sleeping about 3 hours a night, pretty determined that we'd still find him. For about 10 days we had nothing, and then suddenly a call comes through while we're all at my friend Miles's house having food. It's the police. A body had been found in the water by the bridge. We piled into my friend's car. I remember being in the back seat in floods of tears, repetitively punching the back of the passenger seat as we drove to the scene. As we pull up, I saw a lifeless body being zipped up into a green bag near a parked ambulance. Its skin was bloated by the seawater, and it wasn't Joe. Someone else decided to jump that day. Joe was never found. It's difficult to truly let go when you can't say goodbye. For months following, I held on to this fantasy that we'd get a call that he'd run away to some European town and he was happy and he was healthy. But that call never came. The time during his inquest was also around the time I was struggling with the side effects of a new antidepressant.
This is brazy, bro, because I was literally just reacting to Money Game Part 3, bro. And obviously that whole story with the boy and his father passing away and the boy never getting the approval for his father and that, bro. Then eventually life even spiraled even more. And he ended up taking a bullet because he tried to take on the cartel and all that type. But this is it's similar to that situation and that, bro. It's similar to that situation. And it's brazy how even though the story might not have been directly about Ren, there was still elements in there that, you get me, correlated and them thing there, bro. You know what I'm saying? So it's brazy how even a story about a fictional person or a person that might not be you but someone else and that, bro, is still drawing from certain aspects. And he might not even have done that on purpose and that, but it's a very similar situation and that, bro.
The time during his inquest was also around the time I was struggling with the side effects of a new antidepressant. I remember sitting in the courtroom feeling like I was listening to the whole thing deep underwater. The judge...
That's another thing as well, bro. Obviously, I've never really been through depression and that, bro. That's one thing that I've been blessed with and that, bro. I literally have it in a tune and that. I'm like, I can't get depressed and that. You know what I'm saying? It's just impossible. I'm constantly on a mood of, I'm happy, I'm in a good mood, jolly, or just okay. You know what I'm saying? And that, or just calm and them thing there, bro. You know what I mean? But the concept just doesn't make sense in terms of what depression is, where it may root from, and then the fact that painkillers and medicine makes you feel better and that, fam. But sometimes, you know, like when something's not actually making you better, it's the idea of it. Maybe that's what it can be in them thing there. But obviously I've never really looked on it, so I ain't gonna say anything definitive or whatever, but it is something that I do need to kind of do some more research on and that, fam, because just cause what depression is, and then to say that tablets can now solve that problem is like, it's not computing in my head, fam. You know what I'm saying? And if anyone out there knows any information, just let me know down below.
The judge felt the circumstances surrounding Joe's death didn't mean The judge felt that the circumstances surrounding Joe's death meant that the verdict was left open. It kind of stung even more to not have an official ruling of suicide. I remember going to visit his mum not long after and witnessing the aftermath of a mother grieving for her baby boy. The silence of his father, the tears of his mother. I decided that day that I'd have to wait until my illness killed me because I couldn't do it by choice. I couldn't put my family through that. Over the next 10 years, I returned to my hometown.
And it's crazy that he literally needed like a lesson or a real life representation like that for him to then come to a certain realization himself and that, fam. And obviously certain religious people may even say that just God's lessons can come in very painful or mysterious ways and that, but however you look at it and them thing there, fam, that's brazy, fam, you know what I'm saying?
I decided that day that I'd have to wait until my illness killed me because I couldn't do it by choice. I couldn't put my family through that. Over the next 10 years, I returned to my hometown, only a handful of times following Joe's death. My last visit was in the summer of last year. I reconnected with Joe's parents and showed them a song that I'd written, simply entitled For Joe. We cried together, reminisced together, joked, and I'm proud to say that I gave Joe's mum enough money to afford a caravan she told me she'd been saving up for. That felt pretty good. We'd also do a fundraiser for the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, who were integral for searching for Joe during that time, and we raised a pretty good amount of money too.
Ooh.
Being able to give back in whatever small way I could felt good, and it felt right for all the years Joe had made us all laugh till it hurt. He was a solid person, just a little lost, as we all are sometimes. And I miss him. Life was about to take an even more unusual turn, and I was about to meet the first angel of this story. So stay tuned for that.
And that's the maddest thing, because obviously that wasn't like a tune. It's more so like you can say spoken word or him just riddling off, you know what I'm saying? But it still had a rhythm, it still had a flow to it and that, from, you know what I'm saying? Now we actually get the actual tune. Bruv, his vocals remind me of old school singers and that, bruv. You know what I'm saying? And old school folk singers and that, fam, you know what I
It's hard to take off from the ground when your wings are cut. Your stomach burns when you're drinking from an empty cup. You know the entire ocean came from my tear ducts. I see the world through Fibonacci sequences and double Dutch. I guess there's some that's born lucky, there's some that's not. I tried to cut away my bitterness, hatchet job. I locked my youth inside the trunk, inside the pickup truck, then dumped that whole thing over that same bridge the night you jumped. I think about that sometimes, vividly. What it felt like to look down and see tranquility. One sudden movement in a world of possibility. Only one movement to expose our fragility. I fucking miss you, and I miss myself. I miss thinking we were indestructible as hell. I miss chilling by the pier cave and kicking back with Callum, Hugo, Justin, Sega, Stevie and the fucking lads. I miss missing.
No, I can't lie, we gotta reload this little piece still and that, fam, you know what I'm saying? And what's brazy as well and that, fam, is how man's able to take his experience and that, fam, and package it in this way as well and that, bro. Like, it's so cool. That's the one thing about artists or that the greats within this music thing, or just like the music thing is just second nature, how they can take experiences and just package it in such a way and that, fam, you know what I'm saying, that just turns it into something completely different.
There's some that's not. I tried to cut away my bitterness, hatchet job. I locked my youth inside the trunk, inside the pickup truck, then dumped that whole thing over that same bridge the night you jumped. I think about that sometimes, vividly.
That's crazy, because literally part of him went with him type of thing and that, fam, you know what I'm saying? So the pickup truck went down and then related it back to obviously how Joe took his life and that, fam, you know what I'm saying? But hey, I can't even lie to you, it's a mad situation though, because I don't even know how you would even, because like there's not like definitive proof, so I'm guessing there's probably people in Joe's life that may even still have an ounce of hope left in that, fam. You know what I mean? Because that is a crazy situation. You know what I mean? To not actually recover a body and actual, you get me in that, fam. But yeah, bro, just the way he just packaged that whole thing right there and that to basically say that, yo, when you jumped, a part of me went with you type of thing, because Joe obviously represented a certain part of his life as well. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean, where he's taking a traumatic experience and just molding it into art, fam.
What it felt like to look down and see tranquility. One sudden movement in a world of possibility. Only one movement to expose our fragility.
And that's another thing I also said in the Ren Money Game Part 3 and that, bro. Like, just as quick as things go bad is just as quick as things can go good as well. And just at an instant, bro, you get me, you can be reminded of something that deeply hurts you, that's deeply joyful, a memory of a child. And that's the thing, that's the power of like eyes, ears and that, fam. You know what I mean? I feel like that's why people, like we have actors, and why the film industry, you have all these 4D cinemas where you're in chairs and you're moving along, because, bro, the human body and that, bro, and what it's able to do in a moment and that, bro, when it sees something or hears something or both and that, bro, is crazy and that, fam. So people try to replicate in whatever they're doing and that, fam. You know what I'm saying? Because music somewhat has that ability, and so does film and acting, and this person portraying another person and that, fam. You know what I mean? But yeah, just a split second I said something and that, bro, can just bring up a whole lot of emotions. Play the video, man.
I fucking miss you, and I miss myself. I miss thinking we were indestructible as hell. I miss chilling by the pier cave and kicking back with Callum, Hugo, Justin, Sega, Stevie and the fucking lads. I miss missing that. I numb myself to close the gap. I never even call them up. Distance is my plaster cast, to tell the truth. The day you jumped, my childhood jumped too. But I still can't find the angle. All I find is missing you, man, I miss you. With all my rhymes, I picture running 5 minutes quicker, I'm right on time. I picture pulling you back over the edge and then we're crying, and holding you, my brother, and telling you that it's fine, not the way that it worked. I was late like a jerk. There's not a day where I can find a way to break from the hurt. Your body missing, so we never got to wave to the hearse. I hope you're listening, I love you, man, I miss you, absurd, fuck. Another domino, it falls across the way another's born. How you're supposed to raise a child and give it courage from a storm. In a world that is confusing, contradictions pave our flaws. Some will say we're only human.
Depends how you look at it, to be honest, and that, bro. You know what I'm saying? With the child and the whole storm, bro, how you supposed to give a child, what they say, courage or whatever in a storm, and it depends how you look at it, bro. You know what I'm saying? You can make a lesson out of everything in life and that, bro. It all depends on the perspective.
Another domino, it falls across the way another's born. How you're supposed to raise a child and give it courage from a storm. In a world that is confusing, contradictions pave our flaws. Some will say we're only human, others judge us for our flaws. Some get born in sheets of satin, some get by.
Some people say we're only human, but others judge us for our flaws, and like we're literally human, and that we're what people are judging us for being human type of thing. You get me? Like, didn't say too much, but said a lot.
That is confusing, contradictions pave our flaws. Some will say we're only human, others judge us for our flaws. Some get born in sheets of satin, some get by in tattered clothes. Some will die before they live, that's just how the story goes. But for those of us still with us, who reside inside our hearts, tell them proudly how you feel. And for those of us who aren't, freckled angels stand strong, freckled angels live on, freckled angels climb higher, freckled angels still inspire, freckled angels won't forget you, teach me to live my life better. 13 years and still I miss you, now my wings are missing feather. Otherwise I'd come and join you, but for now I'm here on earth, stuck inside this mortal body. But for everything it's worth, made me braver, made me wiser, made me stronger, made me true, made me face the world with courage, and that's all because of you. Freckled angels laugh the hardest, and their hearts, they are the largest. With their wings, they fly the farthest. So I know you're gonna be okay. Freckled angels live the longest, and their minds, they are the strongest. Oh, their friends, they are the fondest. So I know you're gonna be okay.
Hey man, hey man, hey man, hey man. That was a deeper one than that, fam. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to man like Ren. Shout out to anyone watching this video and that, bro. You know what I'm saying? That might be even reminiscing on people that they've lost and that, bro. You know what I'm saying? More power to you, more power to all the families and that, bro. More power to me, more power to my family and that, fam. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man. Shout out to man like Ren, bro. Shout out to man like Ren. I feel like people like him a special artist and that, bro. You know what I'm saying? No matter the genre, you know what I mean? But that's why I always say in them thing there, bro. For artists to be like what do you call it? For artists to just constantly just do one thing and that, bro. I always, I'm not saying that. I was about to say I despise it. I don't despise it in them thing there, because there's probably artists that I listen to that only do one thing, but they're good at that said thing. But I always say explore and try different things and try to express yourself in different ways and that, bro. You know what I mean? Because you don't even know what you are capable of, bro. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man. Shout out to man like Ren and that, fam. And his vocalism, his artistry, and also his instrumental ability and that, bro, always adds to it as well and that, fam. You know what I'm saying? Especially the piano. And I feel like it was the first part where he stopped rapping or singing or whatever then, and he started playing a little bit where that was cold. And when I looked at the camera, bro, yeah, and did a little fire effect, that was cold still. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. It's your boy Njies, and I'm gone. In a bit, people, man.